Hearty welcome to all the viewers. I am delighted to reach you through this video. Here you can learn about modal auxiliaries. Well, what are modal auxiliaries? They are nothing but verbs such as can, must, could, would, etc., which are used with main verbs to express possibility, permission, necessity, obligation, etc. Fine, let's know about the characteristics of modal verbs or modal auxiliaries. There are 14 modal verbs which are can, could, may, might, must, ought to, shall, should, will, would, dare, need, have to, and used to. Modal verbs have only one form. They have no ing or ed forms, and also they don't add s or es to the third person singular form. Let me explain it with an example. Mohan can speak 2 languages. In this sentence, can is a modal verb. You cannot add caning or caned, cans or canes. That is not applicable. That's what explained. No such forms are applicable when dealing with modal verbs. Hope you are clear about this. In this video, I will just explain only 5 modal auxiliaries which are prescribed for grade 9 and 10 under NCERT syllabus. Now let's focus on the usage of must as a modal auxiliary. It got 5 different usages. Let me explain it one by one with examples. Firstly, must is used to express obligation. Obligation means moral or legal duty or commitment a person should do. For example, you must obey your parents. That is a moral duty of a child to obey the parent. Next example, you must go to school in time. It is a legal or moral duty or commitment of a student to reach the school on time. The second usage of must is to express compulsion, that is ordering someone to do something because it is necessary or important to do so. Look at the examples. You must answer all questions. You must written by the evening. So in this case, we can see must is used to express the compulsion to show that something is very, very important or very necessary. Thirdly, must is used for saying that something is probably true because nothing else seems possible. Example, you must be tired after your long journey. There must be some mistakes. If you look at these examples, you can clearly see that must as a modal auxiliary is used to convey the probable truth because nothing else seems possible. Fourthly, the negative form of must is must not, and must not is used to express prohibition. Look at the examples. You must not come here. You must not use the office phone for private calls. Here, prohibition means the act which is not allowed or which you should not do in a particular area. So, must not as a modal auxiliary in its negative form, we can use it to express prohibition. As fifth usage, must is used to give emphatic advice. Examples, she must consult a doctor at once. You must work hard if you want to get good marks. Here we can see must is used to express emphatic advice. Emphatic advice means advice to show that it is very important, that particular act is very important. So in this particular situation, we can use must as a modal auxiliary in a sentence to give emphatic advice. Hope you all are clear about the usage of must by now. Well, now let's focus on the usage of have to or had to. The first usage, have to expresses obligation or necessity in the present. Had to is doing the same work but in the past tense. Let's look at the examples. She has to look after her mother. He had to finish his work before 5 p.m. The first example expresses the obligation of a daughter to look after the mother. The second example shows the necessity of a man to complete his work before 5 p.m. Secondly, have to or had to are used for giving advice. Let's look at the examples. First, you have to mix the water and the sugar. Second one, she had to take those pills to get better. In these two sentences, have to and had to is used to give advice. Thirdly, have to and had to are used to draw a logical conclusion. Let's see the examples. There has to be some reason for his mischief. Second example, this has to be a part of the whole plan. So, in these two sentences, we can see that have to or has to or had to is used to draw a logical conclusion, to bring a logical conclusion to a particular thought. Fourthly, have to is used for supposition or to describe something based on a possible idea or situation. Look at the example. Example number 1. You will have to work very hard to stand first. Second example. If she has to choose, she won't marry him. In these two examples, we can see the person is supposing or describing some situation based on some possible ideas. It is not exactly, but it is a guess by the person. In this case, we can use this modal auxiliary have to or had to. Finally, have to is used to indicate that something is very important or necessary. Let's look at the example. We have to be more careful in the future. They will have to clear all their debts before December. Well, in these two situations of being careful in the future and clearing all the debts before December, we can see that these two actions are very important or necessary to do. So that this particular modal auxiliary is used to express necessary or very important things to do. Hope you are clear about the usage of have to or had to. Now, let us look at the usage of should as modal auxiliary. Should is the past tense of shall. In indirect form of speech, shall changes into should. Let's look at the examples. I said, I shall go to school tomorrow. I said that I should go to school the next day. Should as modal auxiliary is used when we deal with direct and indirect speech. If you look at the first sentence, it is direct speech from the first person to the second person. If you look at the second example, second sentence, it is indirect speech from the first person to the third person. You can see shall is changed into should in indirect speech. Secondly, should as modal auxiliary is used to express obligation, duty, etc. Let's look at the examples. You should look after your old parents. You should pay all your taxes. If you look at these two examples are expressing obligation. First one is expressing obligation or the duty of a child towards parents. Second one is expressing the obligation or duty of a citizen towards the nation. Thirdly, should as modal auxiliary is used to give advice or suggestion. Look at the examples. You should consult a doctor. She should do yoga exercises daily. He should learn English if he wants to get a good job. In all these three sentences, should as modal auxiliary is used to give advice or suggestion to the other person. Fourthly, should as modal auxiliary is used to express the purpose of any action. Look at the example. Morgan walked fast so that he should catch the train. Second one, Satish worked hard so that he should stand first in the class. In these two sentences, you can see the purpose of the action is clearly explained. In that particular part of the sentence, should as modal auxiliary is used. Fifthly, should as modal auxiliary is used to express imaginary results. Look at the example. He should get angry if he had come to know about it. It is not the fact, but it is an imaginary thing, imaginary result of any particular action. So in this case, we can use should as modal auxiliary in a sentence to express imaginary results. Finally, should as modal auxiliary is used to express polite requests. Look at the example. I should be thankful if you give me some money. In this case, should as modal auxiliary is used in the sentence to express the very polite request. Now, let us focus on the usage of need as modal auxiliary. The first usage, the negative form of need, which is need not, is used to express the absence of obligation. If you look at the sentences given, they need not send the letter now. You need not go. He need not come now. In all these three sentences, we can see the absence of obligation. In order to express the absence of obligation, we can use the modal auxiliary in its negative form, which is need not. Secondly, need is used to express obligation or necessity. Look at the example. Need I attend the class today? Need he solve all the sums? In these two expressions, we can see need is used as a modal auxiliary to express the necessity or the obligation of a person to do that particular action. The third usage of need as modal auxiliary is using a particular formation. So focus on the formation right now. Need not plus perfect infinitive. Let me explain it. What is perfect? Perfect represents the perfect form of the verb. Infinitive, already you know, infinitives are of two kinds, bare infinitive and to infinitive. So this particular formation, which particular formation? Need not plus perfect infinitive is used to express an unnecessary action which was performed. The action which is unnecessary but performed in the past tense is, in order to express that, we have to use a particular formation which is need not plus perfect infinitive. Look at the example now. You need not have gone to see the doctor. He was on leave today. Second one, you need not have carried an umbrella as it was not raining. These two sentences are expressing the unnecessary action which had been done already, but to express that we are using a modal auxiliary with a particular formation need not plus perfect infinitive. Look at the formation in the first sentence. Need not have gone to see. Here, need not plus have gone is the perfect tense plus to see. To see, to infinitive is used. See the second sentence. Need not have carried. Need not plus have carried is a perfect infinitive. So here we can see this particular formation is clearly used to express an unnecessary action which was performed already. Now let us focus on the usage of ought to as a modal auxiliary. The first usage. Ought to is used for expressing what is the right or sensible thing to do or the right way to behave. The first example, you ought to get up earlier. We ought to exercise daily. Teachers ought not smoke before students. All these expressions are expressing the right and sensible thing to do or the right way to behave. In that particular situation, we can use this modal auxiliary ought to in a sentence. Secondly, ought to as a modal auxiliary is used when we believe strongly or expect that something will happen. For example, the Indian team ought to win. Satish ought to pass. The meeting ought to have finished by 2 o'clock. In all these three expressions, they strongly believe that the action will be taking place in the future. In this expression, we can use the modal auxiliary ought to in a sentence. Thirdly, ought to along with three verbs which are see, hear, meet is used for emphasizing how good, impressive or unusual something or someone is. Look at the example, you will understand it better. You ought to see their new house. You ought to meet his elder brother. Maybe the house is very impressive, very beautiful to see. Maybe the person is very impressive and very extraordinary character. In order to explain that something is good, impressive, we can use ought to along with three verbs which are see, meet, hear. Finally, ought to along with have, as ought to have is used when we realize that we did not do the right thing in the past. For example, you ought to have listened to my advice. She ought to have taken the money. If you look at these two sentences, you can see that the subject of these two sentences are realizing that they did not do the right thing in the past of listening and advice or taking the money. So in this particular situation, we can use ought to have to express the situation. Hope you learned clearly about the 5 modal auxiliaries and its usage. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, like and comment. Thanks for watching.